I'm your host, Davida Shinsky, and you're listening to Live Without Limits Dreams Come True with the Right Mindset. Today's presentation is titled, What is Positive Stress? The Five Keys to Understanding Eustress and Distress. Stress is often given a bad rap, and for a good reason. Too much stress can lead to serious health repercussions, mentally and physically. But here's the thing, it's actually not all bad. There's eustress and distress. So let's match these two against one another. In this presentation, we're pre- comparing eustress versus distress. What should you know? How can stress actually be a good thing in your life? What are the challenges of eustress and distress? Maybe you've plugged into Google eustress, meaning only to feel left with more questions than answers. This might be especially true if you've always thought stress meant bad. So let's flip this perspective a bit. What five key things should you know when it comes to understanding eustress versus distress? Eustress can motivate you. Meanwhile, distress can leave you in an anxious mess. Eustress is more closely related with positive emotions. While it can cause frustration and worry, it's more likely to lead to fulfillment in life. Unfortunately, distress is the complete opposite. It's more likely to fill you with feelings of hopelessness, panic, and anxiety, potentially leading to towards serious mental health repercussions. Eustress feels manageable. Distress does not. Eustress is a small amount of stress, at least usually, inevitably. A person's resilience may determine the exact amount of stress a person can take on without it becoming negative or overwhelming. All in all, eustress feels manageable. Distress, on the other hand, doesn't. You will feel overwhelmed by it, giving way to various negative emotions. Eustress is usually short term. Distress can be short term or long term. Eustress propels us forward bit by bit. I usually don't stick around long. Distress, depending on the cause, may be short term or long term. For instance, distress can arise from loss, which may take a long time to move on from. Eustress can actually improve your physical health. Distress is likely to affect health negatively. As previously mentioned, eustress and resilience are closely linked. In fact, eustress can actually increase your resiliency mentally and physically. Opposite to this, distress, especially in the long term, is most likely to lead to negative health repercussions such as cardiovascular disease, diabetes, depression, and other health issues. Eustress is more likely when you're confident. Distress is more likely when your perceived confidence is low. This perhaps more so highlights the significance of taking care of your mental health. Stress can be good, but if your confidence isn't where it seems to be, a little stress can be considered distress, depending on the situation. Eustress versus distress examples. So, what are some examples of eustress and distress? First up, let's briefly look at the factors that impact eustress versus distress. These include financial standing, transportation, time, knowledge, coping skills, social support, health, family history, and more. Individually, whether something is eustress or distress depends on the person themselves. At the same time, distress can widely be categorized as a lack of resources, such as feeling overwhelmed due to a lack of time or money. Furthermore, examples of distress include financial crisis, death of a loved one, relationship issues, ab- abuse, illness, and injury. Examples of eustress include exercise. Yes, exercise is a stressor. Meditation, accomplishing a goal, listening to cheerful music, socializing. When is stress good? Short term and motivating stress is considered good, which is what eustress is generally defined as. However, as any stress over the long term can have negative consequences, the key here is to keep your stress levels manageable. This allows the body and mind to adapt accordingly. So, how can you encourage more eustress over distress? Here's a few ideas. Take up a new hobby and learn a new skill. Play games, practice puzzles, touch or teach others, volunteer. Set reasonable goals and deadlines for yourself. Practice healthy coping strategies such as meditation, journaling, or gratitude. Now, some final thoughts. Generally, change and stress can feel unpleasant, yet it doesn't necessarily mean bad things are about to happen. Perhaps personal growth is on the horizon, or maybe you'll come out stronger than before. Aim for more eustress versus distress in your life. Stress can be positive. You've just got to become equipped to handle most of these stressors so that you can pave your way toward your best life. Hans Selye, founder of the stress theory, once said, adopting the right attitude can convert a negative stress into a positive one. So, the last thing that I'm going to say about this is that when we're talking about stress, think of eustress as a really good way of adapting to life, and distress as problematic in how you relate to what's happening around you.